Hello, I'm Sarah Jane Critchley and I'm here to tell you how to move from anxiety to well-being using a framework that I developed called the 5 C's framework. We're going to go through each of those in turn. So come along on a little journey with me. Before we get into that, I'll just tell you a little bit about my family because I'm a parent as well, and we come from a neurodiverse family, so we've got a whole host of different things going on in our family. We've got dyslexia, ADHD, dyspraxia, depression, anxiety. In fact, we've got so many different things that when somebody says, have you got this, we can put our hands up and say, yes, got that, got that, got that. It's kind of like playing disability bingo, where eventually you have so many different stamps on your card that you can go house with one. So I have 2 children who are autistic. These are my 2 children in the picture when they were quite a bit younger, but they are now both adult. My husband is also autistic, and we have 2 cats who are definitely Aspie, and my mother and I both identify as autistic as well. But before that, I spent 10 years, before realising that my children were autistic, I spent 10 years working for the Autism Education Trust, where I helped professionals in schools and educational settings to support autistic pupils and autistic young people better. And we produced things to help people who are working in early years with children at nursery, and then we help people who are working in schools and people who are working with those who are nearly adult with post-16 provision as well. The single most important message in the entire programme is that autism is a difference and not a deficit, and that's something I really believe, and it's something that I've shared throughout that programme and throughout everything that I've done since. So let's talk about why we're here. We're living in really difficult times at the moment. Right now, at time of recording, we're in the middle of a coronavirus pandemic. Things are really difficult. Lots of people have been very poorly. Lots of people have died in our country right now. This is not a situation where you would expect not to be anxious. Being anxious is totally normal and totally rational. But there are ways of coping with that that will help you more than to obsess about it and to really struggle. So I've developed this framework that I think will help you, and I'd like to talk you through how it works. So in order to help you to cope with difficult times, we need to think about your life almost like a stress jar. And I've got this lovely picture of a jar here. And if you imagine that the amount of stress that you have is how full that jar is. So if you're completely not stressed and very chilled and relaxed, you're about where number 1 is, down towards the bottom of the stress jar, and it's fine, it's perfectly okay. And if you have things that happen, as we all do, because life happens to us, our stresses and our worries and anxieties pour in at the top of that jar, and we can take quite a lot of that stress and worry and anxiety being dropped in before it all overflows. And when it overflows, it tends to overflow in fight, flight or freeze. So we'll either lash out at other people verbally or get cross with them. We may fight them. We may be very angry and aggressive, or we may just flee. We may run away and want to hide. And you can react in any of those ways. More people actually just shut down rather than melt down. So shutting down is far more common. If you're more anxious, then you're more likely to be one of the higher numbers, a 3, a 4 or a 5. And it takes much less of that additional stress, worry and anxiety for you to overflow. And right now, because everyone around us is really anxious and the whole country is anxious and we're dealing with really difficult things, our anxiety level is much higher. So we are probably all starting at least at a 4 and possibly even a 5 before anything else happens. To live like that on a long-term basis is incredibly bad for your health. It's very, very bad for you. It can shorten your life and it can make you very poorly. So it's really important that we find ways of reducing that anxiety, of letting some of that tension out in a way that we can actually then cope with the things that life will throw at us. We can't stop things from happening, but we can affect how well we deal with those. So this tap at the bottom of the picture is my picture to help you to understand that when you do these things in the 5 C's framework, it will help you to drain some of that stress out of your life and out of your body and out of your emotions and out of your mind, so that you can cope with more things. So I've got a little question for you, and I'd just like you to think for a moment about what you do to turn on your tap and reduce your stress, to allow things to drop out. And there could be a number of things you do. So what do you do? I'd love to hear what you come up with by email, because everybody is different. What works for one person won't necessarily work for another. It's very individual, and it only matters what works for you. So let's think about the 5 C's framework and how that works. There are 5 different areas you can do that will help you to get control and to feel more balanced and to be able to cope with the stresses and strains of anxiety. They're to control what happens to you. They're to choose what you allow yourself to be influenced by and what you see and what you notice. They're to create, so that you get time for your soul to come alive and for your heart to sing and to take time out and love doing what you do and being who you are. They're to connect, because we're human beings and we need to connect with each other. And we know that being isolated is really bad for you, and it exacerbates and makes worse every sort of medical condition. It makes you feel worse all round. And the final thing is to care, because helping other people also helps us to feel good. So the first C is control. And it's really important to recognise that there are some things we just can't control. We can't control, for example, what the weather's like. We can't control whether it's bright sunny sunshine or whether it's absolutely teeming it down with rain, like in this picture. We can't control whether we get older. It just happens to us, doesn't it? But we can control how we react to that and how we feel with it. And I love this picture because she is so joyfully dancing, and I love the colour of her jumper. There are some things we can control in terms of whether people get sick and ill. So right now we can control whether we wash our hands properly for 20 seconds. We can control whether we stay socially distant, 2 meters distant. And we can control whether we follow the guidelines and stay away from people who are incredibly vulnerable. But actually, it's possible that they may pick up a virus from somewhere else. It's possible that they may become ill with something totally different. And ultimately, that isn't our fault. That isn't something we can control. So what can we control? I can control, for example, what I eat. And I know that when I eat really good healthy food, lots of lovely green vegetables and really bright food, lots of multicoloured eating, so reds and yellows and greens, then my body is getting all the nutrients it needs, and that helps to maintain a good balance in terms of mood and generally in terms of health as well. So it makes the world of difference. That's really, really helpful. So what else can I control? I can control how I breathe. I can control whether I relax. I can control whether I do some meditation or whether I do some mindfulness. And we know that all of these things really help to make your body calmer and to help you to be more well. And most importantly, I can really control what I focus on. And there's this bit in your brain called the reticular activating system, or RAS. It's a big name. You don't need to worry about it particularly. But what it does is it focuses on particular things. And when you tell it to look for something, it will look for that and it will find it. So whatever you command your brain to notice, it will find. So that's what happens when, for example, you buy a brand new dress and then you suddenly see that dress everywhere. Obviously not for the gentleman amongst you unless that's what you enjoy doing. Or, for example, if you have a particular car, somebody you know has got a particular car, and all of a sudden you'll see that car everywhere. And that's the way it works. So what you focus on is actually what you see and what you notice more. And that has a real effect on mood. So if you're noticing really lovely, happy things, you will be generally happier. If you're noticing really negative things, you will be generally more negative. So that's the way that it works. So here's a little exercise that you might find really helpful for you to explore what you can and can't control. You can take out a piece of paper, draw a line down the middle of it, and on the left hand side you make a list of what you can't control. And on the right hand side you make a list of what you can control. Now you don't have to write it out yourself. You could talk to somebody else about it. You could stick pictures that represent what you can and can't control onto the paper, or you could just talk it through with a friend. Either works. But ideally, put it on a piece of paper on two sides of both sides of an A4 piece of paper. And then when you've got your two lists, you fold it in half and you take a pair of scissors and you cut it down the middle. And the side of the paper that has what you can't control, you pick up and you tear into little pieces and you put it in the bin, because there's nothing you can do about those things. Now the things that are on the side of the things that you can control, you take that list and you put it up somewhere where you will see it. So you can put it on your fridge, or you can tape it to a mirror in your bedroom, or you can put it anywhere in the house where you know you will see it. And your job is to focus on the things that you can control and to control the heck out of those things. Because whilst you're spending your time and your energy focusing on those, your mind and your body and your brain can't be freaking out about the other stuff as much. So really, really focus down on what you can control. It will really help you. So let's move on to the next C, which is about choosing or curating how you spend your time. And this is about using your brain and using the amount of time you have in a day, all 24 hours of it, to focus on things that will make you feel better and more calm and happy. So it's about spending less time on things like the news. We know when the news is really difficult and very depressing and really makes you feel worried and scared, that it's bad to spend a lot of time on it. We also know that unkind people have a really bad way of making us feel worse. You don't need that, so don't do it. And spend as little time as possible in that worrying cycle. And sometimes you have to do things to get out of it. And there have been studies, quite a few of them, that show that the more time you spend on things like social media or on your phone, then the less happy you will be. Those are designed to grab your attention and drag you down, and they tend not to be really positive. So what can you do? It's about spending more time with things that make you feel good. It's about having the equivalent of your own focus wall at part of your house that only has pictures of the things that you love and what you adore. It's kind of like making up your own photo gallery, your own picture gallery with things that are important to you. So you can spend more time with the pets, you can spend more time working and creating on great memories, things to remember. You can spend more time with people who are kind, spend time with your special interests, do the things you love to do. It's really important to get out in nature. We know getting out and walking outside has a really positive benefit on our ability to cope when we're feeling stressed and anxious. One of the things that people have often said helps them to relax a lot is to read a book, if that's the sort of thing that you love to do. Not everybody enjoys that, but lots of people really, really do. And music is a really fast way of changing your mood. So if you're feeling stressed and anxious, playing a calm or happy playlist is a great way to get out of yourself and really change the whole feeling of that. Exercise is brilliant. Hard physical exercise for a short period is a really good way of raising really good happy hormones in your body called endorphins. We call them the dolphins in our family because it's funny in that way. And the other thing that really makes a difference is taking time to sleep and invest in your well-being. Sleep has a massive effect. So if you can work on your sleep, I know lots of us find it quite challenging, but if you can work on sleep so you get more, then you will have more reserves to pull on. It's one of those things that feeds into the positives. The next C is to create. So what can you create that will make your heart sing, what will make you feel alive? And I decided a while ago that one of the things I was going to do was, when we were locked into coronavirus, was to do something creative and to start doing some painting. Now, I haven't had any professional art lessons. I didn't do art at school. I just enjoyed the idea, and I've always wanted to kind of play with it. And I love Japan, and we're all fascinated by Japan, and I adore these wonderful pictures of Mount Fuji that you can see. So I thought, well, I want to paint one. So all I did was I got hold of some paints which we had lying around because my daughter did GCSE art, and I got hold of some canvases that we bought and found a YouTube video that said how to paint Mount Fuji. You know, really easy, one of those things. And I just sat down and had a go. And it's really important to just have a go. And I enjoyed the process. It was so relaxing. So the question to you is, what can you create that will give you time out and make your heart sing? Maybe you'll create a book, or maybe you'll create, do a piece of woodwork, or to put together a picture, or to make a sculpture. And lots of us I know in coronavirus lockdown have started doing that. I've even got my own coronavirus gallery now, and that was the first picture in my gallery. The next C is to connect. And we're human beings, we're hardwired to want some sort of social connection. Now, that's very variable. Some people want a lot of time with other people, and others want next to no time, but everybody needs some form of connection with another human being. And it's really important to find people with whom you feel you have something in common. And I love this picture because this is taken from Comic-Con. And lots of autistic people particularly love to dress up in cosplay because you know what character you're going to play, and you meet lovely people who know what the script is you're going to follow and who all enjoy the same sort of thing. So it's about finding your tribe, and you may find them online. Nowadays we can't meet right now like this. This gathering would not happen in coronavirus. But right now downstairs, my boy, who's just turned adult, is talking to a bunch of his mates on Discord. And my daughter talks to her friends on WhatsApp. And there are other ways of doing that. We need to use that technology. If you've got somebody that you can ring and chat with, I know some of you are having regular calls with one-to-one Enfield, that's brilliant. Just that little bit of human contact makes all the world of difference, because it's really important for us to feel that we're a part of the world. And you're really valuable. We need you to be connected. And the final C is to care. Sometimes we just have to find somebody else, or someone else to connect to, and someone else to help to get us out of our own heads. Because sometimes the stories and the words in our heads are not helpful. So we have to look at something bigger than ourselves in order to help. And you can do a number of different things. You can volunteer to get somebody shopping if you feel like that. You can, if you're a tech whiz, as so many of us autistic people are, then you can help people sort out a spreadsheet, or help them to format their book, or to help them put up some artwork. You know, there are lots and lots and lots of different ways that you can help. And some people have turned this into an absolute art form. And there's a really good example I wanted to share with you. And here's our Greta Thunberg, who said that autism is her superpower. And she suffered from all sorts of anxiety, and she was actually out of school for a very long time. She really struggled. The thing I love about her is that she got so far out of her head, she's trying to save the entire world. And we need her to do that. So my question to you is, what is your particular gift, and how can you use your gifts to help someone else? Because there is so much we can do. That comes to the end of our film. I've got lots of other videos on my YouTube channel, which you're very welcome to go and have a look at. Please, by all means, they're there to help you and they're available to you free. And finally, if you're interested, there's details of the book that I wrote, and also I contributed to a book on girls and autism and educating girls, and all of my contact details are there. I'd love to know what makes a difference for you and what makes you less anxious. I wish you huge joy and I hope you're well in this lockdown period. Lots of love to everybody. Can't wait to meet you in person. Looking forward to when we can do that next. Take care. Bye.